a pretty simple page today. I have 3 4x6 layouts that I'm doing in a straight line, and I'm going to have some punched border over here on the side, journaling, title, and I'm planning to do a banner across this area because I think it goes with the nautical theme of this layout, and I've got some white cording here to attach all of my different pieces of paper to. Another reason why I decided on a banner was I didn't really have another good paper that went with all this in a larger size. I do have something I can use maybe for that trim underneath. I've got a couple of possible things I can punch there in the reds. I have a number of things in the paper pads though. Several different paper pads that have reds and blues and whatnot that I can pull out for my banner. So that'll be easy to find. Lettering, I have these red options, and then I have some other colors of thickers depending on how long my title is. I haven't decided on my title yet. Probably ask my husband what he thinks would make a good title for this page. And since it's a nautical theme, I thought these cork items might look good with it. I just haven't quite figured out how I want to use them. I've got a couple of small dots there that I could use instead of the brads that are shown on the layout. Or I have some of these older cork pieces from pink paisley that I've had for a long time, and some of them have kind of a nautical sort of look to them. I also considered using the stick pins as a place to tie up my thread as well. So, you know, I've got a couple of options there to do something a little bit different than my usual brads. So, a pretty simple page, and I'm going to start by putting a few things down and picking out my papers for the banner.
So I have this one piece of red designer paper that I trimmed, and I think that I like that, but I would like to have a little bit more there on the left side of the photo. So I'm going to take this solid red designer paper and punch it with the postage stamp edge punch, which is always a good punch for a guy-oriented page. The only challenge with this punch is keeping it nice and straight as it goes across. And I'll trim that down. And then I'm going to glue the two pieces together. That'll make them easier to add to the back after I add a little bit of red ink to distress those edges, because you get a little bit of white showing through a lot of times when you punch designer paper. So the ink will cover that up. Then I'll glue these two together, and they'll be easier to add behind the photos. When I glued the photos down, I glued them mostly in the middle so that I could tuck things in on the sides. Alright, now I have my journaling typed, and I'm ready to pull out some thickers here for my words and put my banner in place. I found it's a little bit better cord. The original cord I had was awfully thin, and I had this scrap of cord, nylon cord that's a little bit larger, and I can't really do anything else with it. So I'm going to use it for this project. Sometimes you can appropriate things from other home projects that will work out well for your scrapbooking. I'm just tying it in knots. I want a knot in between each of my pieces of paper that I'm going to use, and I'm fraying the ends a bit. I like to use my paper piercer to do that. Now it's figuring out a banner size. So I'm just taking a scrap piece of paper to play with, and I've got a size there that I think is pretty good. I'd like to have the edge at the top though dip down, so I was using the tab punch, which has a rounded top, to create a rounded topped border, but I didn't get it very good there the first time, so I'm doing it over, just made a copy of it, and then punched out the center, so it's ended up being rounded at the top. And I'm going to use this as my pattern to cut all the little pieces. I've got a bunch of papers here, so I've got to figure out which ones that I like. In different reds and blues. And the seamstress in me wants to always center the design like I were doing fabric. So, so I centered the red part of the check there in the center of the little piece of banner. Nobody would ever notice that. That's just that kind of thing that I'm going to do. And I've got those in place, and I'll be hot gluing all that on. But right now I'm trying to decide what I want to do with this journaling. I think it needs a border to it. And I also need to figure out what color letters that I'm going to use. My husband helped me with the title and the journaling, since this is a page about him and his grandson, and it's kind of a cute little title, Riff Rafting. And then one of the pages that was in one of the 6x6 pads is a gray and white stripe, and I really like that. I thought it had a nautical kind of look. So I'm using that for my matting, and with that, you know, having that laying there, I can get an idea of where I want to place the banner. So I glued one piece of the banner down. I'm gluing the journaling in place, and then I'm ready for those that nylon cord, old drapery cord, to go in place. Since it's going on with hot glue, I needed to be really sure where it was going to go. And for something like this, hot glue I think is about the only option to glue this in place. That's one of the things when you start adding non-scrapbooking materials. I found a lot of things, you know, they're a little bulkier many times, buttons and things, and hot glue seems to work as the best way to deal with those. It's taken me a while to get comfortable using the hot glue gun and not get it all over the place, but now that I have, I use it a little more often than I did before. And I'll just glue my banner pieces down with regular adhesive and just slipping them in so that they look like they're hanging from the knots. Sorry, my head keeps getting in the way. There's no way of getting them centered otherwise. There's a little close-up. I'm going to be putting my letters down next. Like most thickers, these need a little extra glue. I used to think that was a real problem, but in a way it's not, because that way you can place them and fiddle with them a little bit without worrying about them being stuck down. Except for the foam ones, where those things usually stick pretty good. Alright, the title's in place, and now I need something else to go on here, and I was wanting to use some cork embellishments. These are from Little Yellow Bicycle. No, I'm sorry, they're from Pink Paisley. They're really old. I've had them a long time, and I like these little tiny ones, and once I punch those out there, they're going to get used somewhere. I started over on the left, but I've decided to put them as an edge to my journaling. It's just figuring out how I want to arrange them, whether I want them just in the corner or up along the sides. And I also have these stick pins. These are from the Little Yellow Bicycle. Those are a very recent product, the Naturals collection. And I've got a couple there that say Happy Us that I think I want to use. And I decided I needed a few more of those little cork pieces and go all the way around that gray and white striped paper, keeping with the slightly nautical theme to the page. Now we're really close. I do need to put a date on the bottom of this and glue those pieces on, which I've done, and I used the other cork pieces from Little Yellow Bicycle to do the date. So back to the sketch, we have, instead of the brad, I used those cork pieces and had them go all the way around my journaling. My title was a little bit longer and 2 lines, and I used the stick pins on the left. So here are some close-ups of the layout. This one went really quickly with the photos just stacked, and then the journaling and title over to the right, and a little bit of embellishment. Thanks for watching today.